Mike's Daily Podcast.
Look at this. 6 days in a row I've done a podcast.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's become a daily podcast again. How impressive. Thank you for your help. Because of you, I would be wrapped up in some kelp and I'd be in the ocean starting to sink. That's not good. And then I'd be shark food. Hey, they spotted a shark off the coast of San Francisco or something. It's FF episode 2258.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
2258. You know what I didn't realize this week is that Conan O'Brien is done.
Mike's
No more show from him.
Daily
And I was a
Podcast.
big Conan O'Brien fan.
Yeah!
Advocate. I would stay up late and I'd watch his show back when he was on NBC. And then, let's see. Then sometime, he did that for a while, right? Then in like 2007 or 8, Jay Leno was stepping down. And they had announced this like 2, 4, 5 years earlier that Jay Leno would step down by 2008 and Conan would take over. So everybody was all prepared for it. Everyone was all excited. And then I watched Conan, he did his big farewell to that time slot, and Jimmy Fallon took over. And it was like a big to-do. And then he takes over The Tonight Show. And people were like, what's this? This isn't Jay Leno. I'm old. I don't get Conan O'Brien and his humor. So, and he moved from New York to LA. That's right. And I watched that for a while and enjoyed it. I'm always curious to see how he was doing, and Jimmy Fallon was doing pretty good. The only problem I still have with him is that he's an awful interviewer, but he comes up with clever things. That's why he does all that shtick. He does all those little viral video things. It's because he's better off playing with his guests versus interviewing them.
And here's today's podcast picture.
That's my little opinion as we go outside a cafe. No, wait, we're not outside yet. We're looking at the podcast picture is what we're doing. The podcast picture today is my lovely lady friend and I. And we're on this Mulder Trail. And it's off of Skyline Drive as you are driving basically above Half Moon Bay and above San Mateo and all that. It's a nice drive. And lots of redwood trees. And you can see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. It was like I was in a special forest somewhere. Oh, Basil and I once went to this trail when he was alive. I forget when that was, 5 or 6 years ago. But no dogs are allowed though, so I didn't actually do that. No, I did it. I think it's dumb. I don't know why you're not allowed to bring dogs to that area. 'Cause they'll pee on the trees. Well, dogs do that. It's true. But I'm sure there are other animals out there doing it, so why they have the thing against dogs, I don't know. Maybe you can explain. At 336MM Daily, 3 + 3 = 6. MM is Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast has been now for 6 days in a row. Take a look at that. Hasn't been interrupted yet, although I'm sure it will. I'm telling you now that I will be on the radio in the morning on the station. There's a link at mikesdailypodcast.com. I do this special 9 to 4 p.m., 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time show on Sundays, playing the greatest hits of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Mostly upbeat stuff. So if you want to tune in, there's a link at mikesdailypodcast.com. So the whole thing about being up in the... Conan. Right, so he ended his... So he then... People were like, what's going on? Conan O'Brien, where's Jay Leno? Yeah. And so then Conan was kicked off within like a year. He got a huge severance package. And then he wasn't allowed to be on TV for a year. So he goes and does this live tour, which they put in a documentary, which was pretty interesting to watch because he's going through all this self-doubt. And he grows this big old beard. And then, because Andy Richter had not been on the show for a while. And I don't think he went with him to LA, did he? I forget now. But So eventually he gets on TBS, and people are like, TB what? Yeah, TBS. And it's really just not ever, at that point we all knew it was done. But somehow he made it work, because he went on there, 2011? At least 2011, and he's been on for 10 years. So he proved us all wrong and kept doing a show, then shortened it down to a half hour from an hour. And then, you know what? It's just that whole talk show late night formula is just so dull. I haven't watched late night talk show stuff in so long. It just, why do I need to waste my time with that? And I say that about a lot of things. Gaming. Why do I want to waste my time with that? I see people so obsessed with gaming. They just love it. And you know what? Kudos to you. I hope you get the kudos. No, I mean, kudos to you for loving and finding something that you love, blowing up stuff, knifing people on video games in the video game world. Oh, at least they're doing it in the video game world, not in the real world. Yeah, well, you know what? The bigger atrocity to me is that you're just wasting time doing that. But that's just me. It just seems like such a waste of time. Versus podcasting, it's very productive. Like, I tell you interesting things like this, like you might be completely buried in debt. Somebody sent this to me. Methods to paying down debt. And everyone's got debt these days because credit cards. Ooh, I can buy that gamer thingy I need to help me be a gamer and be all gaming and stuff. So I'll put it on the credit card, pay it later. So we get into debt. Attack the debt with the highest highest interest rate first. And I have to tell you, I'm reading this. The screen is about 20 feet away from me. I don't know why we are set up like this here at Cafe anyway, but it's set up this way today in Podcaster Valley Mont, the last place on earth. Attack the debt with the highest interest rate first. That's right, because you are blowing so much money on that, dummy, while paying minimums on the others, because you want to wipe that out. I know that sounds like, what's his name? And that other lady, this Susie Orman, and the guy who's on a lot of Christian radio stations, and people just love him and adore him, and he's got that nice smile. It's radiating warmth. And they all follow these people, but it's true. The fact is, you just got to get rid of the stuff that's sucking all your money out of your pocket. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valleyton. When the debt is paid off, put that same payment, because now you've got that thing going. You've got that routine going, and it's all about routine in life, right? Put that same payment amount toward the card or loan with the second highest rate. So now you're going to kill it all. It's the rollover formula. Repeat until all the debt is paid off. Apply that monthly payment into your savings then. When it's all done, put it into your savings. My lovely lady friend was talking to me today. She's a therapist, and one of her clients is going through a really hard time. Their dad is dying of cancer, and it's basically they're done with all the chemotherapy and everything. He's done, the dad is, and it's going to be now hospice. And you always, these times make us think of that Sting song. It wasn't a big hit because a lot of people didn't want to deal with it, but it's true how fragile we are. Oh, by the way, Annie Lennox does a version of that song. She says that that's her favorite Sting song. And there's a thing on YouTube where she's performing that for Sting at some big dinner event. This is obviously pre-COVID. And she's just belting this song out on the piano. Oh, what a talent. Annie Lennox. My heart stops when I think of her. She's amazing. And now her daughter is apparently really doing well, or she's, performing with her mom. And then there's this other method called the snowball method. Attack the debt with the smallest principal first while paying minimum on the others. So this is you're spending less. When the debt one when debt 1 is paid off, combine the payment with the minimum on debt 2. So you're still paying the same amount, but now you're increasing how much you're paying, how fast you're paying this off. And your payment will increase each time you switch to the next debt up. So eventually you'll be making the largest payment on the largest debt. So limit your credit card use to small purchases you'd make anyway, like gas and groceries. Pay off credit card balances immediately, monthly. I like to wait to the last possible second, but I always pay it off. I always pay it off the month, but I don't like, let's say it's due on the 2nd. I don't like pay it off like weeks earlier. I wait till the very last second to the 2nd, because now you can do all this cool stuff with websites and apps and whatnot where you say, what exact day do you want to pay this off? And I just like that little bit of a buffer. But Mike, what if you miss the buffer time and it goes and you're late and then you're paying a fee on that? That has not happened, thankfully. So I will answer that question later when it happens. Create an airtight budget. That is so not easy to do, and I'm not even going to get into that. Stock your emergency fund for unexpected costs and pick up a side hustle and put the income toward your debt. A side hustle. This from, and I really can't, it's the, well, it was from my real estate agent, Keller Williams, I guess, put this together. So, Mike, you have a real estate agent? Are you thinking about moving? No. Meanwhile, Susie Orman, you know what? This would be the perfect time to sell the house, move out of California like everybody is. There's a huge exodus going on all over the place. People leaving, moving, flying from one state to the other, getting out. This state is too hot. This state is too expensive. This state is too left. This state is too right. And we're all moving around. I don't know if that's good or bad. In some ways, it may be good because it's helping us all integrate into other areas and see how other places are and maybe make us more well-rounded individuals. When I lived in Alabama for 2 years, probably the best move I ever made. It was fantastic. I still miss it. But it was such the opposite side of California. You know, California, no humidity, basically. We're generally left-leaning over here. Alabama, definitely more right-leaning, humidity, but much less expensive. Very nice people. But, you know, it's just a whole other culture. But we're all Americans. It's fantastic. It's a good idea to do a exodus, to do a migration in your life. Everyone I've known that have just stuck in one place their whole lives, they really annoy me. They do that whole, well, I've been here forever. And I've been here forever, and my daddy has been here, and my daddy's daddy, and my daddy's 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 daddy. You know what? Life's too short. This goes back to the fragile thing I talked about earlier. How fragile we are. So let's say you've made it to old age, good job, and now you're considering retiring. These are some quick things to remember about all that. Property tax, insurance, rising maintenance costs, those are always going to be around. So when you retire, you have to obviously think about all that, add all of the fixed costs of staying in your home, from utilities, tax, insurance, and maintenance to other essential expenses such as food and out-of-pocket healthcare expenses not covered by Medicare. Will your Social Security benefits be enough? Do you also have a pension? If you can't handle those costs on your retirement income, your focus should be on moving, not paying off the mortgage. Is your home fit for an older you? Take a clear-eyed look at whether your current home is a good place to get older. Lots of stairs. Somebody told me this is not even an issue. If you're getting older and the stairs become an issue, you can always put in an elevator. This is what this guy said. He said, you won't believe how inexpensive putting in an elevator is. And I thought, wow, I want to live in your world. So I haven't really investigated that, but this guy just stands by. He brings that up all the time. Is there lots of upkeep for your home? That all becomes harder as you get older. If you aren't in an area with terrific public transportation or ride sharing, which that's one good thing about where I live, is there is and I can't stand the sound of the bus going by my house twice an hour because it goes one direction and a little bit later there's a bus going the opposite direction. And that is annoying because it goes till midnight every day. But at the same time, I can be catching that bus, and I have caught that bus in the past to go to work. And that makes wear and tear on the car less for gas. And you know how expensive gas is these days. And just riding on the bus that is a whole other maintenance that you need to pay. It is mental maintenance. It is physical maintenance. It is crazy stuff happens on the bus. Yours truly did it for a year. The things I saw, the people I had to put up with daily. One time, and this was nobody's fault. I guess this was the fault of the people who made the bus, but there was an issue where someone in a wheelchair, one of those motorized wheelchairs, he had to be locked in, because I guess that's part of the bus ride experience. You have to be locked in to where your wheelchair is on the bus. Well, he then has to be unlocked by the bus driver. So the bus driver has to pull over, stop, do the little thing where has to do that little elevator thing to help the person in the wheelchair get out. Is it a ramp? I forget how that works. But then this individual was still locked in place in his wheelchair. The lock wouldn't release. And it got to the point that I think the bus driver pulled out a knife ready to cut the locking device. It was like a seat belt. And we finally found the switch. I got up and helped him. And it was crazy because there were two other people on the bus and they just sat there. And I'm like, if we all use our heads, we can fix this. And we got the guy unlocked, and the bus driver thanked me many times. So public transportation, it does take a toll. I will say it may not be taking a toll. Your commute, I guess we're commuting less, but some of us still have to commute. And now we are definitely commuting more. I know my company is telling me I need to come back and be there 5 days a week in a couple weeks. But yeah, anyway, that was my little side rant about public transportation. As you know, I've ranted about how BART is, and BART needs so many improvements. Bay Area Rapid Transit. I rode BART a couple weeks back, and there was a guy on there. He was wearing a mask. It was just me and him in the car. And then he just out of the blue takes off his mask and starts walking up and down the aisles. And I'm thinking, and he's coughing. Yeah, that happened. As soon as we stopped at the next stop, which thankfully it stops at every about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, I got the heck out of that car, went to the next one. I mean, what is that? You see so many things on BART where you're going, what is that? Why? Why is that happening? Why am I smelling this smell? Oh, and you smell so much reefer. Okay. So if you're not in an area with great public transportation or ride sharing, think not just about your own ability to drive, but your friends as well. Will they be able to visit as often? Can they reach you? Are you in an area that you can be visited at? Now, if you're much younger, 20-something, time is your greatest advantage when it comes to investing. Invest $500 a month, starting at the age of 25, and you will have more than $1.3 million. Of course, you'll be 65 when you have that, but at the same time, if you keep at it and just tell yourself, I have to do this every month for the rest of your life, that's amazing. Assuming a 7% annualized return, Your contribution will total $240,000 over the 40 years. The rest will be earnings on your money. But let's say you wait until you're 45 to start saving. To land at 65 with the same $1.3 million, you will need to save over $2,000 a month. Wow. There you go. Thank you, Costco Connection and Susie Orman. Hey, there's a couple of news things I wanted to fly through because this is the Saturday show, and I often do that. FDA adds warning about rare heart inflammation to Pfizer, Moderna, I guess those two main ones, the COVID vaccine. I had the Moderna. And I spoke with somebody recently who had the Pfizer, had no issues whatsoever, and she's in her late 50s. I'm in my early 50s. I had problems with the first shot. The second shot, I was fine. The first shot of Moderna was not good. Got migraines, had a lot of aching, felt like I was coming down with the flu. But then it was gone within about a day or two. The U.S. and Food Drug Administration on Friday added a warning to patient and provider fact sheets for the Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccine to indicate a rare risk of heart inflammation. For each vaccine, the fact sheets were revised to include a warning about myocarditis and pericarditis after the second dose, and with the onset of symptoms within a few days after receiving the shot. Health officials said the benefit of receiving the vaccine still outweigh any risk. There have been just 12.6 heart inflammation cases per million doses for both vaccines combined. Then Johnson & Johnson is going to stop selling opioids in the U.S. as part of a $230 million settlement in New York. The decision, it comes just days before the case was scheduled to go to court on Long Island. Pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson said that, and more than 500,000 people died from opioid use in the 2 decades between 1999 and 2019, according to the CDC. The opioid epidemic has wreaked havoc on countless communities across New York State and the rest of the nation, leaving millions still addicted to dangerous and deadly opioids, said the New York Attorney General Letitia James. Johnson & Johnson helped fuel this fire, but today they're committing to leaving the opioid business, not only in New York, but across the entire country. And then here's one other thing I would like to tell you, and that is maybe, now we've covered money, we've covered some health stuff, and now a final health thought for you. You need to walk more. MyFitnessPal.com had this suggestion. At home, for an energy boost and a dose of vitamin D, drink your morning coffee or tea while walking. For a clear mind, try a brief walking meditation around the house. To help digestion or stave off a food coma, take a quick 10-minute walk before or after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. To boost productivity, multitask by walking whenever you get a phone call or are doing a daily chore like brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth while walking? No. The little suds fall out of your mouth. The Colgate's all over the floor. That's not a good... The Colgate's all over the Parquet. Isn't that a name for a type of... Anyway, those are some ideas. To break up periods of sitting, walking in place during commercial breaks while you're watching TV. For fewer distractions, plug your phone into charge in the farthest room in the house. Walk back and forth to check messages and make calls. Instead of just having it on you. However, if you've got your Google Fit app on your phone, then, you're missing all those steps if you're walking back and forth to get to your phone. To reap the benefit of amazing tasting, nutrient-dense food, fresh food, plant your own vegetable garden. Okay. I don't know what that had to do with walking. Just being outside, I guess. All right, thank you for that. What is that floor that I'm thinking of? Is it? Yeah, parquet. There you go. It's a solid hardwood flooring, I guess. Okay, sure, Mike, whatever. And the last but not least, have you had your work judged lately? Has your boss judged you at work, judged your performance? Judgments have both objective and subjective elements. Even some yes or no, true or false questions have shades of rightness or wrongness inherent within them. Take, for example, the work of a meat inspector. If an inspector judges a side of beef to be unfit for human consumption, would that same side of beef be unfit for consumption by dogs and cats? Asks E. Arthur Self, PhD. And I believe I've read that before, but he also says judging work performance doesn't always mean that something negative will occur. Not all judgments made in courts of law convict, some exonerate. However, within the threat of judgment, all behaviors and achievements become acceptable and cannot be assessed to be superior or inferior to any other. This argument primarily belongs to the ineffective leader.
Later that day.
Excuse me. Okay, so much for that. There you go. Now look who's outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Monterton, the last place on earth. Hi, Mark. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. Yeah.
It's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
That's all fascinating. All that's fascinating, Mike. I mean, what you said about keeping money in your pocket and keeping healthy by walking around, that's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow, I never get a compliment from the disgruntled fiddle player. Some people can't take compliments, and they just go, yeah. You know, I just read it. It's not really what I said. But that's not how I'm going to be. I'm going to accept that compliment.
Okay, well, don't make a big deal out of it, you stupid.
Now, see? That's what I'm talking about. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Now, at this point, you have just completely lost everybody.
And I'm telling you, this is why we have the Brewmaster here, pouring us a wonderful root beer.
Hi, Mike, I make the delicious root beer. I'm the Brewmaster.
Thank you so much. Brewmaster, I think we're going to wrap up the show.
Drink my root beer, I'll cut you.
No, I think we'll wrap up the show. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Thank you for listening. Tell me what you think about any of these topics we covered, or have your suggestions for me. You can tell me. 336MM Daily, 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast has been now for 6 days. I can't mention that enough because I'm so proud of myself. Take us out, A. Frank.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.